With the Steelers playing on Thursday night, we're going to do a little bit of a preview on the Wednesday episode of the North Shore Drive podcast, but we've got Jason Mackey. He's got some interesting stuff to talk to you about with Larry Ogunjobi, the new Steelers defensive lineman, also the quarterback situation, but we're also going to break it up a little bit. We're going to talk some Penguins with their camp starting up on Thursday morning, so that's going to be exciting. We're also going to talk a little bit of Buccos, all Pittsburgh sports, all right here on the North Shore Drive podcast from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Let's get into it.
You are now listening to the North Shore Drive Podcast, a show on all things Pittsburgh sports from the writers of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, hosted by Christopher Carter.
And welcome to the North Shore Drive podcast. I'm Chris Carter. He's Jason Mackey. We are of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. You can find the show on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, anywhere podcasts are hosted. Feel free to subscribe to there and be sure to subscribe to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette itself so that you can make sure that you're getting all of your updates on news and especially in sports. Today's episode is brought to you by Acrisure. Introducing the Acrisure Fan Advantage. Have the power to project one of our Post-Gazette Steelers beat writers into your home or office using the augmented reality app part here. You can get an exclusive pregame breakdown from a Steelers expert standing right in your living room. Get the latest insights on starting lineups, key matchups, and critical stats at post-gazette.com/Acrisure Fan Advantage. No apps or downloads, just insider access to Steelers updates at post-gazette.com/Acrisure Fan Advantage. And get a real edge on this week's action. This week we have Brian Backo, so that's pretty fun. Today, we got Jason Mackey on. Jason, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, Chris. I have not done the augmented reality stuff, and I'm like sort of intimidated by it. I know you and I are both on this list, and like
we're coming up, right? Yeah.
Spoilers is fine, but I feel like I'm gonna have too many friends that are like, putting me in weird places. I'm gonna get made fun of for it. But I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be fun, and check that out. Just by using the Acrisure Fan Advantage, it gives you a lot of great stuff there, prepping you for Steelers. But speaking of the Steelers, you got the Browns coming up this week on Thursday Night Football. Of just a few years ago, it was a Thursday Night Football game against the Browns in Cleveland, where Larry Ogunjobi was part of the scrum that happened after Myles Garrett, struck Mason Rudolph over the head with a helmet. But Larry Ogunjobi has put that behind him, as have the Steelers. Mason Rudolph even called him to kind of be like, hey, that's behind us. Let's focus on winning. And Ogunjobi has been a welcomed addition to the Steelers defensive line, now giving Cam Hayward a veteran presence next to him that's kind of in his prime. Ogunjobi, 28 years old this year, so this is kind of his time to shine. But you've been doing more looking into Ogunjobi and him as a person. Jason, what have you learned about him and how he's changed into the starter for the Steelers that we see today?
Yeah, Chris, there's a lot there, man. And I spent earlier this week talking to his parents, Larry Sr., and his mom's name is Mercy. And there's just a fascinating story behind him. His parents are Nigerian immigrants, and so he grew up in New Jersey and then North Carolina. And growing up, Larry Ogunjobi was very large. We'll put it that way. He told me he used to take strawberry milkshake Pop-Tarts and throw them in a freezer, and he'd be like playing video games and screwing around in his room, and he'd just like down a box of Pop-Tarts. His nutrition was bad. His life habits were bad, all this stuff. And his parents were like worried about it. And they basically said, like, you're going to kill yourself if you don't fix this. And like, they're challenging him and saying like, don't do this. You need to go to bed at this time, and just getting nowhere with it. And so eventually they just said, you know what, you're done. We're taking your video games away. You're done. You're going outside. You're going to go. There was a family friend that sort of worked with him and said, like, you're going to go work out. You're going to go play football. And Larry didn't want to do it and protested it, but he played football, and he played enough of it that he kind of started to not stink. Like anybody doing a physical activity or something, get a little bit more, and you're like, oh man, this is, I feel good. I like this. And so I was talking to Larry about this, and his sophomore year of high school, I mean, he started out, he was terrible and lost a whole bunch of weight. And at the end of the year, ended up getting voted the most improved player on a JV team, and said like that was so cool to him that he actually worked for something and got it. And it sort of was part of this, what I found to be like a consistent theme with Larry Ogunjobi of sort of being obsessive. Like he did that, and the obsessive streak with eating the Pop-Tarts or playing video games or There was a Bible reference in there where his mom bought him a Bible for his 16th birthday, and he's now read it like 10 times, and it's something that really centers his mind. So anyway, he's a very introspective guy. I had a great conversation with him not long ago at Steelers, talking about this stuff, and he ends up going to UNC Charlotte, playing football there. He was a double major. I believe it was computer science and biology, which ain't easy.
That's pretty smart. Yeah, I can't do that.
So he did that, and he ended up, all of this story, I promise you, like weaves together in the Post-Gazette, and the piece I'm working on, it'll be in Thursday's paper, in a logical fashion, but ends up, has this thought with his grandfather who passed away and this medical background. He's like thinking about doing stuff as an oncologist after playing, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, it should be a neat inside look at Larry Ogunjobi.
I'm excited to read that in the Post-Gazette on Thursday. That'll be awesome, especially with the Steelers taking on the Browns, his former team. And I mean, really, he's played in the entire AFC North sans the Ravens. So it's kind of crazy. I mean, he was even talking about it's kind of just like I've gotten used to it now. Played everybody. But as a team, the Steelers, they, it sounds like it shouldn't be a tall task, but it's still a tall task to win with the offense that they've been playing right now. What's your read, Jason, on how the quarterback situation plays out? We have some people saying this is all on Matt Canada. Some people saying this is all on Mitch Trubisky. Some people saying this might be Mitch Trubisky's last shot. I don't know if it's that serious yet. I think that they might not abandon him, but it seems like the Jets next week with a few extra days off because of this week's Thursday Night Football might be an opportune chance for the Steelers to say, hey, Kenny, here's your chance to show us what you got, early on in the season. And that's only if Mitch Trubisky does have a bad game against the Browns.
Yeah, Chris, I totally agree with you. And I think that's the rational way of looking at this. I do think it's funny how, if you're a Steelers fan, you probably have the devil and the angel on either shoulder, right? Like the one side of you wants to be like, put in Kenny right now. What are you doing? I want to see Kenny.
I love your Yinzer accent.
Yeah, I used to have one. Actually, I did. I mean, I grew up here, and this is a funny story. I won't take too much time, but my dad, when he was alive, had a very heavy Yinzer accent, and I grew up in Brentwood in the South Hills, and my mom basically just scrubbed it off of me, could not stand it. If I would go around saying Haas or Tan, she'd just look at me like,
what's wrong with you?
Really? And so I had a voice and diction class in college that you had to sort of scrub. So every once in a while it comes out, but I try to just keep it in that box. Anyway, you have the good voice and the bad voice, right? The fan voice wants to say, get Trubisky out of here, get Kenny in. I mean, dude, from Sunday to Thursday, that's not a good time to put the backup. You're not putting him in the best position to succeed. So I think you go with Mitch. I think you and I both know, it's in a football offense, it's not one person, it's not one thing, it's collective. It's the best team sport out there for that reason.
Right.
Yeah, Matt Canada can be better. Mitch Trubisky could be better. The backs, receivers, and line could all be better. It's, as a collective, not good enough. So, I mean, I basically say, the way I'm looking at it is, you guys have Thursday. If this product looks like it does against the Browns one more time, at that point, I'm probably going to Kenny Pickett. They're not in the business of losing games. You probably have to turn things over, and I'm going to give the kid a chance, but I'm going to give that to him, like you said, Chris, with the long week ahead of the Jets game, and give that group some time to sort of coalesce.
We'll certainly see how it plays out, because if Mr. Trubisky plays well against the Browns, maybe we're not talking like this next week. But all of that will be seen Thursday Night Football in First Energy Stadium. Jason, will you be there?
I will not. Nope.
Okay.
I think somebody else is going in my place. I don't know. I have Penguins camp in the morning.
That's right.
Going to stop by Pirates at night, but Persak is handling that one, so I think I'll just be watching on my couch.
There you go. Well, you've got to be at Penguins camp, that starts Thursday. We'll talk about that in the next segment here, because the Pittsburgh Penguins are firing up for another season with Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, and that crew. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But first, we got to talk to you guys about Liquid Death. You may see your coworkers cracking open a can on your 9 a.m. meeting, but it's most likely not a beer. It's most likely a new Mountain Spring water brand called Liquid Death. And why is it called Liquid Death? Well, because it's out here to brutally murder your thirst. And their infinitely recyclable tallboy cans are also helping bring death to plastic bottles. They also donate 10% of their profits from every can sold to help kill plastic pollution. We all know that how harmful plastic is to the environment and how water is so good for you. Well, so why not help both you and the planet out in one stroke with a tall, cold can of Liquid Death? So go get some Liquid Death right now at your local Target, 7-Eleven, or county fair, or find a Liquid Death retailer near you with their store locator tool located at liquiddeath.com/shore. That's liquiddeath.com/shore. We're also brought to you by MyBookie. All the Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, Mac Jones, and Lamar Jackson. It's a show of young guns and the old guard, and nothing makes those matchups more exciting than having skin in the game at MyBookie. MyBookie has super contests, survivor pools, and a double deposit bonus that gives you everything you need to secure the bag. Getting started is simple. Sign up today and use promo code NSD. That's NSD for North Shore Drive, and you'll double your first deposit instantly. That's promo code NSD to double your deposit up to $1,000 with MyBookie. This isn't your grandfather's bookie. This is MyBookie. Put your money where your mouth is and get rewarded for it. Begin your winning season today exclusively at MyBookie. Back here on the North Shore Drive podcast of Chris Carter, he's Jason Mackey. We are the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Remember, you can check this show on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, anywhere podcasts are hosted. Jason, we got to talk some Penguins, and we haven't had a chance to do that yet on this show because we started up, late summer, early fall. But it's getting to be that time. They report to camp, or they start camp Thursday. You'll be on hand. You'll be there. You'll throughout the weekend to kind of see, just give us a sense of what's going on there. But this is a team that there were a lot of questions after they got bounced in the first round of the playoffs this last year. They were playing. There was a lot of hope. There was a chance there they had, and then Sidney Crosby got hurt with the hit that took him out in the playoffs. But a lot of people after that were saying, you know what, just break it up. We're tired of this. They haven't advanced in the playoffs since they won the Stanley Cup. Everyone's getting frustrated with that. And there's just keep Sidney, get rid of Malkin, let's get some prospects. Let's start building for the future. The Penguins said no. They said, you know what, we're making sure this core stays together. And there were some people that pushed back against it. I personally thought it made sense. You know what? You've sold down the road so many future prospects and draft picks and things like that at this point. Why not keep taking shots with these guys? It wasn't like they were bad last year. They ran into some problems in the playoffs, and they've done it a lot recently. But this is a group that knows how to win, that knows how to compete, and you can be good. Is this a group that you think could break that streak this year? Or is this a group that, maybe they're being lucky to even be putting themselves in that situation?
Yeah, Chris, I would skew more toward the first part of that thought. I don't know if I look at the Penguins right now and the rest of the Eastern Conference and think that they're immediately a playoff team, or, I shouldn't say a playoff team because it feels like, 29 teams make the playoffs.
More than half the league does.
They're going to make the playoffs. But can they get out of the first round? Can they get out of the second round? That's been the rub against them over the past 4 years. I think it's been since 2018 that they won a first round playoff series. And that's not good enough. That's not good enough for their business model, for what they expect of themselves and whatever. And I would have understood this season if they decided to part ways with one or the other, meaning Malkin or Letang. And I did think at the beginning of it, Letang made more sense to keep based on where his game was, where his health is. They didn't really have a right shot defenseman who plays in all phases, sort of like Letang. It leaves a pretty big hole in their lineup. So they decided to run it back. The Malkin thing, I do think there's something to be said for taking into consideration what your players want. And I think it's become very clear, what Chris Letang wanted, what Sidney Crosby wanted, what other people in that team and organization wanted, which is to bring Malkin back. So to your point, and I agree with this, Chris, totally, that you've kicked the can down the road so many times. You've crushed your farm system with trades because that's just what you're doing. That's
what you do when you try to win titles.
Right. Everybody would make that trade. Ask a Pirates fan right now if you would rather have a crappy farm system or a competitive MLB team. So I don't have an issue with it. Now, I do look at the Penguins and think you need to play a different style. And I hope that they've addressed that. I think it's still going to be a little bit of a work in progress. We've seen cup teams, when the Penguins won their back-to-back cups, it was all about speed. And the Penguins were faster than other teams. They're not faster than other teams right now. They also don't have to be faster than other teams. I think there's an element of physicality that they got a little bit with Jan Rutta and Jeff Petrie. Not that those guys are big thumpers, because they're not, but they're a little bit tougher. A little bit. Like I'd like to see the Penguins over time this season bring that element out a little bit. Get some guys who can deliver hits. They're going in corners. They're not afraid to mix it up a little bit. I do think the Penguins are a little bit small, but they are a terrifically skilled team. And I still think, 87's just fine. No issues there. Gensel, Rust, top line, great. You want more from Jason Zucker, of course. You need to find out what they have in Kasperi Kapanen. You would hope that there's something there. They have forward depth. I would just like to see, maybe a little bit more size, grit, sandpaper. Like those are the old school hockey terms that, you might use, but just guys that are a pain in the butt to play against. They need to be a little bit tougher to play against.
No, I feel you here. And I think my thing is that when I look at this roster, there's the guys that but there's got to be guys that step up in ways like when Rust came up, back when they, like you said, they added speed to their lineup to win those cups. And that's what allowed them to kind of find a new edge to the team. And it didn't change them entirely. They still had their skill players that were going to carry them in the big moments, but you need guys to push the envelope, to force teams to make other mistakes and to get your stars more chances to make plays and to be the leaders that they can be. But who are the guys that Penguins fans should be looking at in training camp that could become those kind of game changers that allow the Stars to do more that they could be looking at here? And I know this could end up being a completely different group of guys with trades and how crazy NHL can get, but are there guys on the roster right now that you think could be those X factors?
Yeah, Chris, there are some, and that's sort of what we were doing at rookie camp last week. Matt Vensel and I were up there covering it, talking to guys. Trying to figure out who from that group is going to have an impact on the NHL team, because the Rust comp you make is a really good one. When the Penguins were good, like think about, Rust coming up, Connor Cherry, even Scott Wilson, Tom Kuhnhackl. Like they don't have to be game breakers, but they're contributing NHL players. So to answer the question, like Sam Poulin is one. Their first round pick from 2019. Nathan Legare is their third round pick from 2019. He really was impressive at their prospects challenge at Buffalo. Like I wasn't there. I was just following along online. But Vensel was writing about this, as he should have. Like he was raising holy hell up there. It's like he's just agitating the daylights out of the it was the Bruins prospects that were playing in Buffalo. But, he's a guy that has an interesting game. Valtteri Puustinen was the leading scorer in Wilkes-Barre Scranton in the AHL last season, or for Wilkes-Barre Scranton in the AHL. He's a smaller kid, but has some pretty good skill to his game. He played one game last year. But these guys, again, like I don't care what sport it is, Chris. It's like whether it's football, baseball, there are different elements of it, but you need them to like grow up, need to have that quick ascent and show they're ready for duty. I mean, those guys have to contribute something. And then I also look at like a, Teddy Bluger, Danton Heinen, Brock McGinn. Those guys have been good. I feel like they need to take that next step that Brian Rust did, where you're more of a consistent scorer. You're rounding out your game. Like they need some good stories in that bottom six to match some of the skill they have in the top six.
I think so too. This is a Penguins team that they need some guys to step into those roles. Because here's the other thing is that, like you said, we were talking about those guys: Chris Letang, 35, Malkin, 36, Crosby, 35. They're going to be skilled, like you said. Jeff Carter's 37. But and those guys are all talented, but they're not going to be the ones that push the envelope every single time. You need young bodies out there who can force the issue day in and day out. It's a long season. This isn't a season where, you can kind of just do that a few times a year. You got to keep winning like that, and especially late in the season when you might start to get tired. And that's why I think it's crucial for them to get some of those guys to step up and to become those presidents. Will that happen? Find out at training camp. Jason and Matt and Matt will both be there covering things for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, getting you all the up-to-date things that are happening so you can get your best inside look there. Jason, the last thing about the Penguins, I guess we shouldn't dismiss the goalie situation. Yeah. Is this a situation that we see a change in at some time throughout the year, or is it going to be DeSmith and Jari all over again, and we just kind of seeing the Penguins hope that one of them gets hot at the right times?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way this is going to go, Chris, I mean, they want and should hope that Tristan Jari is going to be the guy.
Yeah.
And I think what they sort of want to do or need to do is make sure that he's the guy when it matters most. Last year we saw how important goaltending depth can be. They don't want a repeat of Louis Domingue and spicy pork and all that stuff. But,
oh boy,
during the regular season, man, Casey DeSmith has been and should be a capable backup. Like, play him freely, not just on the second half of a back-to-back. Get him time. This has been an ongoing discussion with the Penguins dating back to Matt Murray. And even when they had Murray and Fleury, I felt like that was the Penguins' best sort of goaltending situation in recent memory, where, okay, use iron to sharpen iron a little bit, have them not compete, because Tristan's going to be the guy once the playoffs start, but don't run Tristan's wheels off during the regular season. At least that would be my contention. I would play DeSmith freely as long as Casey is playing well and giving them something, which, again, he has in the past and is perfectly capable of doing. They got bit a little bit last year, obviously, with the injury bug. Tristan going down, Casey going down at various times. Like, you need those guys to stay healthy. But I think if we're going to draw this up, formulate the best possible plan for the Penguins, I would be more free. You don't need to play Jari 65 games. Use Casey, but make sure that both of those guys, especially Tristan, are fresh whenever the playoffs roll around.
I think that's going to be a big part of it. They need great goalie play in the playoffs. That could have helped them scoot past the Rangers this past year. But again, like you said, injuries befell them at the wrong time. We got to see how they'll bounce back this year. All of that, again, at training camp. Do check out Jason and Matt's work there. But we also got to talk a little bit of Pirates, because even though they are the third team in town, we got to discuss it. It was a heartbreaker. I mean, and I'm not sure if it's heartbreaking at this point, because you just expect bad things to happen. But we got to talk about how the game against the Yankees ended Tuesday night and the outlook for this team moving forward. But first, we got to talk to you guys about Yins in the Berg. Hey, Yinzers, listen up. The Steelers campaign is off and running, so show your support for our black and gold. It's easy. With 2 legendary shops in the Strip District, you can check out their growing online store that has all the best Pittsburgh sports apparel. Yinzers in the Berg is the place to go for Pittsburgh sports apparel, accessories, and much, much more. You can support the Steelers, the Pirates, the Penguins, everything Pittsburgh sports, all in one place. So go to the Strip District or check out their store online by going to shop at yinzerspgh.com. That's yinzerspgh.com for all your best Pittsburgh sports apparel. Back here on the North Shore Drive podcast, I'm Chris Carter. He's Jason Mackey, and we are of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Now, I gotta say, Jason, I'm keeping tabs
Chris,
on the game.
You're a better baseball fan than me right now. I'm embarrassed. I was not watching that thing last night, and you're telling me you're watching, and
I won't say I was watching intently. Like, I was doing other things. I was looking at some Steelers stuff, some Pitt stuff, doing my research, getting ready for the games this week, and I was like, let me just see, because they're a little up right now. They're doing all right. Look at these guys beating the Yankees and everything. And then they go, this guy to get on base. They allow that guy to get on base. And his base is loaded. And then Giancarlo's, in the same night that you give up Aaron Judge's 60th home run of the year, they're celebrating. By the way, I want to get to you about the whole fans and what they got back for that ball in a second. But then you just see Giancarlo hit a grand slam. And at this point, it's just like, what do we expect anymore? Like was I a fool for going into that thinking like, oh, this could end well, and then seeing that be the walk-off way to lose just for these Pittsburgh Pirates? I guess it seems futile at this time, but there's got to be hope at some point that fans can hold on to for this team. I know people are going to talk about Brian Hayes and sunflower seeds. They're going to talk about this. They're going to talk about that. What is the point if I'm an invested Pirates fan that I can hold on to for this organization moving forward?
I know. And Chris, just to dial it back one, I mean, I think you were just like the rest of Pittsburgh, right? Like you turn it on or you're watching it, you're like, man, all right, Luis Ortiz starts this game. That's the part I did see. Like, looks really good. He's been a fun young arm. And then, oh man, it's just, and Will Crow's been good. He's been good this season and gives up the walk-off grand slam. It's just such a crushing way to lose. Right now, I think I was doing this math. What are they? 55-93. I think they have to go 7-7 or something to land on 62-100, which is my prediction. I don't even know if that's going to happen. You go the opposite way, like, if you're not playing 500 baseball, how many over 100 do they get? But to answer the question and to what hope fans might have, this is what I would point to with the Pirates, and this is getting more and more difficult to rationalize with people, and I understand why. But this stuff isn't easy. This is what it takes in Major League Baseball. Sad as it is, you look at what I'm blanking on the teams. Like the Houston Astros did a version of this. I don't want to call it tanking, but it's like not necessarily trying to win. Right. The Orioles did something similar as well, where you just basically say organizationally, we're going to take it on the chin. And normally that chin taking lasts 3 years. So you say, okay, if the 2020 season counts, theoretically, you've got 21, 22, you knew it was going to stink. And like I brought up the 62 and 100 prediction because that's what my thought was on how they were going to finish. I think a lot of people thought either 100 losses or worse. Well, you have to get there some way. They certainly front-loaded their wins. I don't know what they've been since the All-Star break, but it's been bad. And you have to get there some way, somehow. Now, I would say in terms of like feeling good, in terms of if you're a fan, what are you going to grab onto? I can sell you the farm system. They have a decent farm system. A lot of people are still down on it, say it's all not that good, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's still pretty decent. Andy Rodriguez just went from AA to AAA, solid prospect. I don't quite know what they're doing with guys like Travis Swaggerty and G1 Bay and AAA. They've mysteriously not been given opportunities, but there's a pretty good glut of talent at AA this year. Some of it has moved up to AAA, but you've got Leover Peguero, Nick Gonzalez, Henry Davis, Matt Frazier, Quinn Priester. I believe, as I said before, if I didn't, Quinn Priester is their best pitching prospect in the organization. Now, if you want to consider Roansy Contreras a major league guy, which he is. So anyway, you've got a bulk of guys who could work out that are going to be starting the season at AAA next year. They're not that far away. Okay. Now, if those guys develop, they can come up and impact the club. But, I get it. I mean, teams don't go. This is the thing that kills me, man. Like, teams don't go from 62 and 100 to like 85 wins. It just doesn't happen. Like, your boundary for next year is like 72 wins, and that's still a lot of bad baseball. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, as a person who's kept up with the Pirates, and like I want to see them do it because I want to see exciting baseball in Pittsburgh. It's fun when it's exciting, when it counts in September and October. Like it's so much better when that's happening, and it adds another electricity to the city. And I'm sorry, but like this guy's coming up in AAA. Well, I've been hearing it most of my life, Jason. I'm 33 years old. The only time that I've been like alive and conscious, like not a toddler, when they've been good, was the 3-year stretch from 2013 to 2015. And then after that, they were back down to being who they've always been. And I think they have one other winning season, 2018. But, you said it usually takes 3 years. Well, they had 93 losses in 2019. They had only 19 wins. Their winning percentage was .317 in 2020. They had last year, 2021, where they had 61 wins and over 100 losses. And they're 55 and 93 right now. They're about to finish dead last in the Central for the 4th straight year. I look at that and I'm just like, man, like there has to be, and I get it. There's a lot of people saying sell the team. There's a lot of people saying this, that, and the third. But it's like, looking at what realistically could be in front of you. They have talented guys. You like what you see out of O'Neal Cruz, but yep. People are just tired of saying like, oh, hey, well, they got guys coming up and finding ways to kind of just to talk about. They want to see aggression, like some sort of moves that, hey, give you something. Like I'll give it credit. Like Chris Archer didn't work out, but at least that was an attempt to make it work. Like it's okay. And just, I don't see that enough. And I'm like, hey, I'm not the baseball aficionado. I'm not up there every day. I'm not as in tune with this as you are. But I feel like there has to be some sort of effort in the next year or so to make sure that, you've got Reynolds, you've got Hayes, you've got guys, you got Cruz. You're excited about some of these guys. Invest around them. Get some pitching. Get a bullpen again. Have something there. It's tough for me to put any confidence in this until I see it,
Yep. You're not wrong, Chris. I think what you said there is like the feeling of 95% of Pittsburghers, and you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I never argue with people that say something like that. Now, the only point of contention I usually make is like, if you want to do this in a sustainable way, what the Pirates are doing right now does make sense. Mm-hmm. Like if you want to, and Cherington says a version of this, and he says it like in this complicated way, and it's really not that complicated. You basically need to have more prospects and like get these prospects en masse because the hit rate is so small. You need to better your chances by getting a whole boatload of them. And then you'll care less. You'll care less about prospect. Like this is the scenario they should be going for, right? Like they have a first baseman who prices himself out of town. He becomes a free agent.
Yeah.
They say, oh, well, we're not going to re-sign this guy. We don't care about this guy because we have another prospect as good as O'Neal Cruz coming up through the farm system. So we're going to trade this guy for 4 more prospects that are good, grow them up the right way. We've turned 1 into 4 and grown these. And like that cycle should just repeat itself. And then you're going to spend money on a couple guys. You know, if you have a guy approaching free agency and you don't have a contingency plan, you're probably going to spend that money, and that's okay. But they need to get to the point that we're talking about here. Like they need to actually have progress. And one way of doing that, and I'm tying back to what you said, is to spend some money.
Yeah, spend money.
Pitching is where I would go with it. Like you can fill out your position player group, you know, with young kids. Play O'Neal Cruz, play Rodolfo Castro. People aren't going to argue at that. Even play Michael Chavisky, Brian Hayes, Jack Sawinski, Brian Reynolds. You can turn things over to cheap labor, for lack of a better term, because that's what they are. Yeah. But you need pitching. They don't have enough pitching. And we see last night, you see other games, how much things can get away from them when they don't have pitching. But you need to get that cycle to a place where fans are like, okay, they're serious. They're spending, you know, not that that's going to alleviate everything, but like if the Pirates went out this offseason and signed like 3 legitimate major league players, you're going to be like, okay. I mean, I guess I see, you know, they lost 100 games, they're rebuilding, but like at least you're showing me effort. You're showing me that you sort of get my perspective as a fan. But if they go out and run everybody back, don't sign anybody, they've lost 103 games or whatever it is, and they make no meaningful changes. Like, how do they expect fans to say, you know what, I feel more encouraged. I feel good. I feel good about where we're at. Yep. Yeah, but you just can't do that. You can't expect that out of people.
I agree. You can't expect that. And I mean, for me, it's just like, you know, you have that hopeless optimism. Like, listen, man, like I was the kid that was sitting there rooting for Brian Giles, you know, growing up. I was the kid, you know, I sat through, you know, I saw the Jason Kendall injury. Like, you know, I used to have a Jason Kendall poster in my room growing up.
Really?
Just, oh yeah.
That ankle injury was one of the most horrific things ever. I like still can't watch that. I cringe.
It's cringe. But you know what was also cringe? And it's not as cringe as this. I wanted to ask you about this. So Judge hits that home run, right? Historic home run, amazing home run. And the fan that gets it turns it into the Yankees and gets some signed bats and baseballs.
Yep.
And for him and his friends. And I'm just like, I'm sorry. That's history, right? Huh?
You wouldn't do it? You wouldn't make that trade?
No, I need 4 zeros at the end of my check, bro. And I don't mean past the decimal point. I need money, cash, moolah in my hand, and I need to be. My student loans need to be paid. My house needs to be paid. Everything needs to be good. I don't know what they were thinking, but I get it. It's a lot of pressure.
I priced Carter.
Yes. If I catch the golden ticket, if I'm sitting here screaming, I'm Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. I got a golden ticket, but you didn't go to the Willy Wonka factory. You took it to Hershey Park and said, "Hey, can I just get one day at the park for with this golden ticket?" No, you want to own the park. Like, come on, man. Like, I couldn't have it, man. It was too much. But what was your readout of that? Because I thought they made a huge mistake.
I was good with it. I'm scared to say that. I'm fine. I feel like I would have that bat. I'd have that ball. Like, give me a signed bat and a signed ball. I'm like, yeah, you know where I got that? When I caught Judge's 60th home run. You know, like, the guy should have it. It's his ball. It's his.
Okay, pay me for it. Judge makes enough money. Come on, man. I'm 1 game check. like, come on.
That's like, well, I mean, they do have you over a barrel, right? Like that, you could do that. I mean, that's like being a fan in a ballpark. They're going to charge you $18 for a beer because they can. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying. You're not wrong. It's just, I don't know if I could do it. I guess I'm too much of a wuss.
Listen, man. Hey, listen. I get that there's pressure, and it's also these guys look very young. Like I think it's easier to kind of convince them, like, hey, you're doing a good thing for your team. But man, like I've been through. Listen, if I somehow caught, you know, like a home run like that, and like it's mine. That's the rule. Like I can take it home with me if I want to. If you want it,
you're playing hard
for it. You know, and you know what? Because here's the thing: as the Pirates, I wouldn't take no like oh, we'll give you a box seat, like a luxury box, the rest of your life. Okay, but like how many rest of my life are you going to be competitive? Because that's how much that is. I want cash in my hand, a check, moolah, something.
All right, what's it take? What's it take then?
At least 100 stacks. That's me
really?
right At least
Judge's 60th home run. That's what it would cost.
Okay. That's at least that. And so, because I see some people estimate. Listen, I don't know the actual price of certain things. I see, what your Honus Wagner's baseball card goes for. I see like stuff that.
God, I can't even imagine what you would want for that.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, it's in the millions. It's in the lots of millions. But point being, if I'm catching a ball like that, the story of the signed bat and the ball are cool, but listen, I've seen what those kind of things go for in the market. I want some of that bread myself. But,
okay.
But anyway, I just wanted to get your opinion on that because I saw that and I was just like, "This is
I love it."
And especially because the thing, you're a Yankees fan. If I was a Pirates fan, I caught that ball, I'd be holding the Yankees. I'd be like, "Nah, bro, you got to make me.
You got to come harder than a bat and a ball for me, man. It's not happening. Right. I think I would. You know what I would do, Chris? You know what I would do? I would say I want lifetime. If I was a Pirates fan at PNC Park and I caught a homer, somebody won it. I said, okay, but I want a card that gives me lifetime free beer here.
Yes.
I never want to pay.
We are the same person, Mackey.
That's it. That would be my ask. I'm sorry. I don't want signed bats and balls. They do nothing for me. I want a card that says I never pay for a beer in this facility again. Until you can produce that card, the ball goes with me.
There you go. I like the way you think, man. If I can drink for free, okay. You know how many Pirates games I would go to?
Yeah, I know, right? And I'm not saying I'd be like stumbling out of there like an idiot. It would just be nice to not pay $18 for a beer. Be like, I want a beer, sure. Here's my card. Yes, thank you. We could even limit it. I'd be okay with that. Limit me at 3 beers a game. I'm fine.
You know what, Pirates? If you ever get a guy that hits 60 home runs in a year and I catch the ball, you can pay me off with free beer for the rest of my life. That's right. We'll handle it that way. You don't need to pay me $100,000. But anyways, thanks so much, Jason, for joining the
My pleasure. What a good one. This is the best one yet.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. We got to keep doing this. Remember, you can experience fun like this and shows like this on the North Shore Drive podcast from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube. If you're watching this video on YouTube, please hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get all of our daily, not daily. We do have daily episodes here. It's not always the North Shore Drive podcast, but we've always got content from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette coming up here Tuesdays, Thursdays, and after Steelers games, Paul Zeiss breaks it down here with Adam Bittner. You can get a live stream. So do check us out. Subscribe here. It helps us out. And subscribe to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette as well. We'll have a Friday show with Brian Batko. We're going to take some time Thursday night to cover the game, talk about the game, and think through it. But we'll have a Friday morning show with Brian Batko that will get you guys through. Tune in for that right here on the North Shore Drive podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the North Shore Drive podcast of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. If you're watching this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. For 6 months of digital access to post-gazette.com for just $6, click the link down below in the description.